Thank you, Frank. In fact, this national workshop is not to show so much or what we already did. Rather, we want to get some feedback on our start of the work, which is a preliminary. And that's an important part of our delivery and to start working how we can get there. Now, I'm requesting Dr. Lisa Higgins from Science Foundation Ireland to deliver her opening space.
Or this, yeah, okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, Ibrahim, for the invitation to come here today, and for those online as well. I suppose I kind of suggested I'd bring a few slides along. I'm not going to be a technical expert talking about the challenge that's being addressed here by the team and by the solution, but just to talk a little bit about some of the approaches that SFI is taking currently under the National Challenge Fund, and really just the kind of the principles and the ways of working, I guess, that we're trying to promote. So I guess it puts a little bit of context, hopefully, on some of the great work that's being conducted by many of the teams, including the HOLOS team. No, that didn't work. There we go. Okay. So look, I'm sure all of you know who Science Foundation Ireland is, but recognizing that I don't know everybody who's online, just to give a little bit of context. So we are the National Foundation for the Investment in all areas of STEM research. We fund in all areas, and the priority areas, I guess, are summarised there below on the slide. And I guess the work of Science Foundation Ireland is very much structured to complement other funders in the country, such as the sectoral funders, such as DAFM and others, but we do fund across all areas of research. Will I admit this person? Well, he's going to do it there. Okay. And I suppose, sorry, multitasking. You know, obviously Science Foundation Ireland's strategy is underpinned by government strategy, and it's probably just worth highlighting that for a moment, because Impact 2030 is, I guess, a relatively new strategy, and it is very much focused on different funders, different government departments coming together, and there's a big focus within that strategy on generation of impact from research. Obviously, generation of impact from research has always been critically important, but it's really helpful if we have various government departments that working together, and also it gives us an opportunity to draw down additional funds from research when we can generate, we can demonstrate that those results to society. And part of this as well, I just want to underpin, because it's kind of linked to the National Challenge Fund and the work that we're doing. A couple of years ago, under our department, Further Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science, we were involved, SFI kind of led on delivering this national campaign called Creating Our Future. And I just wanted to mention it very briefly, because I suppose it was really an opportunity to connect in with the general public. We received over 18,000 submissions when we asked really a very simple question of what do you feel that research should be doing? What areas should we be conducting research, and what's the kind of purpose of research? So it's a bit of a temperature check, I suppose, on how people generally are feeling about research and the value that comes from it. So all of these ideas were synthesized into an expert report. It involved multiple different experts across academia and other sectors in order to kind of just, I suppose, synthesize some of the ideas that came in. And I highlighted, I suppose, because the group came up with kind of 16 different areas that they highlighted. And although many of them wouldn't be surprising, it is particularly important, I suppose, that we had this touch point with the general public, and we have this opportunity then to be able to kind of responsibly feed back on the research that we're doing. So from an SFI perspective, one of the initiatives that we aim to do as part of this, and it was called out in the action report, was looking at more challenge-based funding, and in particular the National Challenge Fund. So it's very important from a public engagement perspective, but also important for our policymakers and our government departments to appreciate, I suppose, the need for investment in research and innovation. So I just wanted to kind of highlight it. So the team that I work with in Science Foundation Ireland, obviously SFI funds across many different areas and invests in you know, individual project grants, most fundamental research, right up to large scale research centres. But the team that I'm working in, I suppose we're kind of looking at some relatively newer approaches within the agency for funding research. One is the National Challenge Fund, which I will talk about in a few moments. But there's also some other interesting initiatives like the Public Service Fellowship. So again, relatively new, but gaining traction, where we're working now. There's a new unit within our government department, the Evidence for Policy Unit, and we're actually looking to second researchers into government departments to work closely with policymakers in order to firstly understand how the workings of government departments and also to be able to work on particular projects to provide evidence for policy. So obviously there's lots of different approaches that we'll take, as well as many of the other standard existing grants. So public engagement is a very strong part of Science Foundation Ireland's remit. It's part and parcel of our larger research awards, and we've recently generated some guidance around this in a framework. I suppose I highlight it as well here today because it's very much complementary to the type of work that's being conducted by the likes of the HOLOS team and others. So I won't go into the detail on these slides, but I suppose just to highlight what is challenge-based funding. I mean, it is obviously a solution-focused approach to research. We're working very closely with the teams that we fund under the National Challenge Fund in order to ensure that the challenges that they are working on are real challenges and that they really understand the problems that they're aiming to address. And in order to do that, it's really through days like today and through lots of different ways of engaging with stakeholders. A lot of it is about ensuring that teams focus on particular problems and that they get there as quickly as possible. So we use various different approaches in order to encourage this type of activity through very particular types of team structure and staged gate grant funding. So we've been working in this area before the National Challenge Fund for a number of years now. Many of you here at UCD will be familiar with Farm Zero C, who won our Zero Emissions Challenge a few years ago. So this is an example of a project that was funded under through challenge-based funding. And there's some other examples there, and I won't go through them. I suppose suffices to say that what we have found in many cases is that the teams working through challenge-based funding have then gone on to be very successful. We've got a high success rate of things like the European Innovation Council, where they've received additional funding, or DTIF, and others, as well as those that have gone straight to commercialization, if that is deemed to be the appropriate impact pathway. It is not strictly a commercialization program. It depends on the route to which that team is going to deliver impact. I was going so well. There we go. Okay, so under the National Challenge Fund, just briefly, and again, I think it's kind of worth highlighting that this is a fund that came from the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, so funded by the EU Commission. I think it's the only programme within the National Recovery and Resilience Plan that is focused solely on research and innovation. So it's a kind of a good signal, I suppose, from the government, again, of its investment in research. So there are 8 challenges in total. I don't know what I was doing that it worked so well before.
This is right clicking, that's the main reason.
Yeah, okay. There are 8 challenges within this program. So it's obviously other challenges that we run as well. The HOLOS project sits within the Future Digital Challenge there in round 1. So as a total of all of these challenges that are currently running, we have 96 individual teams that are working on an array of different challenges, all positioned as either digital transformation or green transition. So there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of teams working in order to meet these challenges, and they're all currently active at different stages. Obviously, this being the first round. So these are the teams that are at a more advanced stage. They're still at relatively early stage, but slightly more advanced than the others. So we work on this kind of phased basis where teams are given In this particular schematic, not all challenges are the same, but they're initially awarded with €250,000. And at each stage they're evaluated in order to really, I suppose, convince our review panels that they've really validated the problem, that they're really putting forward a solution that they feel will meet the needs of that individual problem, and very much a focus on stakeholder engagement as we go. In fact, I'm going to move on. Obviously, there's opportunities then for larger amounts of funding over a longer duration for the teams that progress through. It's like I need help in pressing a mouse. I don't know what am I doing wrong? Okay. I think this might be the last slide anyway. The reason I put this out here is not, I know I'm not with the team in the room. I mean, not solely with the team in the room at the moment, but I guess by showing the types of things that are reviewed at each stage of the process and these are by as the others know, by interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary reviewers who actually look at these. Each step of the way, it's the same review criteria, and it's very much aimed to see that progress, to see that, and there's a lot of flexibility. I suppose there's a lot of flexibility both with the team structure, bringing in additional expertise as needed, and also with the actual what the budget is used for and how it changes. So if, for example, at a review, it's deemed that the team need to change direction in what they're doing, it's a lot of flexibility to allow them to do that. So these are the kind of things that we're looking at. I'm not going to read through them because I've already highlighted them, I suppose, but these are the kind of ways of working and that we really want to encourage. And we appreciate that the teams are hard at work in order to address these characteristics, I suppose, that are coming through in the fund. So we wish you well today and with your project, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa.